King Charles and Prince William's relationship is stronger than ever. While the royal family has a strained relationship with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, it appears that drama has only brought the king and his eldest son closer. Quote, "They've had to put up this united front against Harry and Meghan. They've been insulted by members of their own family. It's been quite the ordeal for them, and I think they've kind of circled the wagon, so to speak. And they've come out with a stronger bond," royal expert Christopher Andersen claimed to Us Weekly. Since moving across the pond, Meghan and Harry have had a rocky relationship with the royal family. They both talked about them in their bombshell interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021. And Prince Harry shared private details about each member of his family in his memoir Spare, which was released earlier this year. While chatting to Us Weekly, Christopher says that unlike the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince William and Kate Middleton have always been, quote, "naturals at living the royal lifestyle." And it appears being a royal comes effortlessly to their eldest son, too. Christopher told the outlet that Prince George, quote, "seems to be surprisingly comfortable with his role as second in line to the throne." Daily Mail editor Charlie Langston shared similar sentiments when Access Hollywood spoke to her ahead of George's 10th birthday. While chatting with Access, she revealed how the young royal is embracing his role as the future King of England, and how his younger siblings, 8-year-old Princess Charlotte and 5-year-old Prince Louis, look up to him.
George does know that he's going to be the future king. Now, obviously, the older he gets, the better his understanding of what that really means becomes. However, he was told for the first time around his 7th birthday. William and Kate are understood to have sat him down for a fairly frank conversation. Now, at 7 years old, you're not really going to be able to understand the weight and responsibility that you're facing as a future monarch, but they did explain to him that his role as a future king means that he will live a life of service and duty. They explained to him how important the role is to the British people, and the fact that it is one that is really about giving back to the public. And from what we understand, he's grasping that more and more every day. And I think you've seen it in his public appearances. He's really relaxed into the different official engagements that he's been doing. When we saw him in his official role at King Charles's coronation, for example, he looked confident. He knew exactly what he was doing. And even though he was the youngest person to take on an official role during that ceremony, he mastered it. He did it with such kind of confidence and grace. And I think that that's a really wonderful indication of how he's going to be as he really matures into the role of future king.
We've been seeing George out and about quite a bit lately. Is that a deliberate choice, and why?
It is a deliberate choice on the part of William and Kate, but it's also a natural one. As any parent out there knows, the older your child gets, the more mature they get, the more opportunity you give them to kind of hang out with the adults, as it were. So when George was a very young boy, they didn't feel that it was fair to him to expect him to attend all of these different events, to sit there calmly and politely with his hands folded in his lap. And just like you see with George's younger brother Louis, who doesn't get to go to all of the same events that George and Charlotte do, it was exactly the same thing with George. Now that he's a bit older, now that he understands more how he's supposed to behave in public when the world's eyes are on him, William and Kate feel much more confident taking him out and about and giving him an opportunity to kind of flex his future king legs, as it were. But I think they've also done it in a really masterful way. We know that George loves sports, so William and Kate have taken advantage of all of those wonderful public engagements in a sporting arena in order to introduce George more to that life of kind of being in the spotlight. You know, he was at Wimbledon very recently, he was at the cricket with his dad, he's been to many a football or soccer game, and those are things that he really enjoys, and also places where he feels as though he can relax. We've seen him kind of cheering and screaming and rooting for his favorite team, and that's a really great indication to the public of how William and Kate are balancing allowing him to be a normal boy, but also slowly introducing him to what it really means to be a public-facing member of the royal family.
That's great. And what kind of child is George? You've touched on his interests. We see how he's been embracing them. But how would you describe his personality?
I think it's best described by someone who actually spent time with him at a private club in London, who said that he is much more cautious than his two siblings. Charlotte and Louis tend to be the more boisterous siblings who rush forward, who make energetic, excited, kind of gestures and all of that kind of stuff. Now, that's not to say that George is shy. I think that that's a wrong image that has been painted of him. I think he's more reserved than Charlotte and Louis. I think that he tends to be a little bit more thoughtful than the two of them. And that will be a combination of two things. A, his natural personality. We can't all be boisterous, extroverted people. But also because he does have more responsibility on his shoulders, both as the oldest sibling, but also as the future monarch. And you saw that dynamic with William and Harry. Harry garnered this reputation for being the loud, crazy joker, while William was always the more reserved one. Yes, that had to do with their differing personalities, but behind the scenes, we know that William's a joker. He knows how to have a good time. The same can be said of George. When he's in a relaxed, private environment, he's known for being very cheeky, he's known for being a little bit mischievous, and he's known for kind of really having a great, boisterous time when he's away from prying eyes. And I think that's a lesson that he's kind of learned more and more over the years, and that's why he's kind of got this image of being reserved and, a little bit scared of the cameras. That's not the case. It's just that he knows that when he's in public, he has to act a certain way, and he can't necessarily run around scrapping with the other kids because he's a future king.
That's a great point. Now, in what ways would you say he takes after William, and which ways does he take after Kate?
I think he takes after William in his stoicism. When he's in public, he's very much the kind of calm, collected leader of his siblings. Now, interestingly, Charlotte has really formed a reputation for herself as being the one who's kind of telling off her brothers. She's always the one saying to Louis, don't you do that, don't you make those faces. But both of George's siblings take guidance from him on how to behave in public. They look to him as being a leader in a very quiet but very reassuring way. We also know that George is intensely protective over both Charlotte and Louis, which I think is something that William exhibited with Harry when they were younger. Now, as far as Kate is concerned, George has absolutely taken after her incredible athleticism. We know that he has formed an incredible fondness for so many different sports, and that's really something that he's learned from his mother. Kate is an incredible athlete. We've seen her master all kinds of different sports over the years. She's played tennis with Federer, she's been sailing. Whenever she and William compete against one another, she is always the one who comes out on top. And I think George is very much the same as his mother in that regard.